Previously on Week Slam.
Whew. All right. Next week's activity is bow and arrow or archery from Mike.
Hello and welcome to Week Slam with your host Sam, where the goal of my channel is to try out a new hobby, interest, or activity for 1 week straight and give you guys the progress update about what you can learn in 5 days. This week's viewer-suggested activity is archery.
Even with records dating back to around 3000 BC, it's believed archery has been practiced since the Stone Age. Archery is seen everywhere throughout history, from ancient Egypt to the Native American Indians in the colonial days. Two of my favorite examples are the Greek gods of archery, Artemis and Apollo, who are often depicted with bow in hand. Being used for both hunting and battling, archery provides many benefits over hand-to-hand combat, such as being able to fight from a distance in addition to giving the element of surprise. It's believed that even when outnumbered, a group of archers would have the advantage over their sword-wielding foes. Obviously, we don't have many medieval battles going on today, but the sport is still beloved by many. In addition to being in the Olympics since nearly the beginning, archery was also the first sport that women could compete in. The next major update in archery history was in 1966 with the invention of the compound bow, that uses a type of pulley system to more than double your shot power without requiring as much strength. Although, this type of bow is significantly more expensive and requires a lot of maintenance and mechanical upkeep. So for this week, I'm going to be kicking an old school of a 70-inch recurve bow. Hello and welcome to day number 1 of learning archery. Today, we have the target about 30 yards out, so wish me luck.
On day 1, it was so hot outside that not even 15 minutes into the hour, we had to stop recording and come back later because the camera kept overheating. Oh, and not only were we dealing with camera melting temperatures, my goofy self decided he didn't need finger protection and has partially numbed the tip of my right finger to this day. I should probably get it checked out, but worst comes to worst, I'll have 9.5 fingers. Once we resumed practice, I was able to hit the target about 70% of the time, which is pretty good considering I hadn't picked up a bow in years. Also, I learned it's very easy to lose arrows in what you think is short grass. So by the end of day 1, I managed to lose 2 of my 12 arrows and half the feeling in my right finger. Let's hope things improve tomorrow.
Hello and welcome back to day number 2 of learning archery. Today, our target's about 35 yards out, so wish me luck.
Once I did a little more research on the proper stance and how to draw the bow correctly, I began to see some improvements with the accuracy of my shots. After watching this video that explained how the Olympic archers stand, I began placing my feet parallel to the line and drawing the string all the way back where my right hand would touch my cheek. So with the proper stance in place, I began to see a lot more consistency throughout the hour. Of course, there were a few pop flyers here and there, which is when the arrow goes crazy, but for the most part, my shots were in the same vicinity on the target.
Hello and welcome back to day number 3 of archery. Today, we're at the Bowie Outfitters indoor range. We're going to be shooting on lane 9 and 10. Let's go.
After recovering, then losing another 2 arrows, I decided to take things indoors on the 3rd day. This range was only 20 yards compared to the previous day's 30, but it helped me improve my accuracy and learn a few extra things. Practicing next to me were a couple of guys that gave some great pointers about shooting more accurately. For example, with your left hand, don't squeeze the bow or else your shots can get thrown off. And with your right hand, after you draw the bow back and release the arrow, keep your hand steady and in the same spot, or else you might get what I like to call arrow wobble, which is basically when your arrow starts to wobble up and down as it's flying, which can slow down and mess up your shot. By the end of the hour, I was able to hit almost all of my arrows on the target and some on the bullseye. Good morning and welcome to day number 4 of archery.
Today, I discovered a really cool archery range at the Waddell Wildlife Refuge, and we're going to be shooting for the 30 range target. Let's go.
First off, I gotta say, this really was the absolute coolest place ever that I discovered totally by chance. While looking for another indoor range, I happened to come across the refuge and saw they had an archery range, so I had to check it out. And this place was no joke. They had around 8 box targets with the distance posted above them, about 6 animal targets, and a story-high archery tower for you to shoot off of. The best part is that it's state-funded and completely free to the public. Although, I'm not sure if I'm saying the name right, so I'll put it on the screen and let you decide. For the first half of the hour, I shot at the 30-yard target, and by the end, I was able to hit all but one of my shots on point. So after eyeballing that tower, I decided to take things to the next level. Literally. Once I was on the tower, I went after Bambi's dad, and I'll tell you, shooting downward is a whole nother experience. It took a couple of shots to get used to, but by the end of the hour, that deer was a goner.
What is up, YouTube? We have made it to day number 5 of the archery challenge, and today we're going to be shooting for the 40-yard target. Let's go.
Alright, slight change of plans. After immediately losing my first arrow in the uncut grass, I decided to drop down to 30 yards, and immediately lost my second arrow. So I went down to 20 and hoped for the best. To this day, I've lost a total of 4 arrows and have vowed to never shoot at that range again. Don't get me wrong, I wanted nothing more than to go back to the refuge for our final day, but it turns out it's closed on Sundays and Mondays, and I needed to finish filming for you awesome people. So we settled on the poorly cut range downtown at 20 yards. By the end of day 5, I was able to not only hit all of my shots on the target, but land them in the same area as one another. So I'd say learning archery was a success. And that is it for our week of learning archery. Even with a little experience shooting as a kid, I'd still rate the overall difficulty 3 out of 5 stars, with the biggest challenge being able to hold the correct form as you draw and release the bow. Another big part of shooting a bow is learning how to control your breath. What I do is breathe in slowly as you draw back, release about half your breath as you aim, then take the shot whenever you're ready. There's plenty of other breathing techniques people use. This is just what I found that works. And lastly, I can't forget to mention aiming. Although, when it comes to aiming a recurve bow, there really isn't a straight answer. Compared to a compound bow that has scopes and laser sights, a recurve only has an arrowhead to use. All I would do is draw the bow back, focus on the arrowhead, let the target go fuzzy in the background, and try to line up my shot. It's not 100% accurate, at least in the beginning, but over time, you'll begin to develop a sixth sense of where the arrow is going and be able to aim naturally. If you want to give archery a shot, I will say it's a bit on the pricey side. I got my 70-inch bow on Amazon for around 140 bucks, a 12-pack of arrows for 40, a quiver for 15, and the target for another 40, bringing the total to around 240 bucks. The most important thing to remember when choosing a bow is to find one that fits your arm length, so you're going to want to get measured before making any decisions. Although, I would definitely recommend the archery gear in the description below. Alright guys, that is it for episode 8 of Week Slam with your host, Sam. Don't forget to leave a comment below on what activity you'd like to see me try next. And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and like the video to help the channel grow. Thanks for watching and see you next week. But before you go, we're going to be spinning the viewer-suggested Wheel of Slams to find out next week's activity. And now, for the moment you've been waiting for. Alright, next week's activity is...